Half a year after getting back together with Luis, he sent me a message. I can't spend our anniversary with you tonight. Something urgent came up at work. I've lost count of how many times he's canceled on me like this. What surprised me was that I'd almost gotten used to it. Okay, that's fine. After all, getting back together was never about love. It was just a way to wean myself off this relationship. Chapter 1. I exited Luis's chat window and called my best friend, Roxana. Luis booked a restaurant for tonight, but he's not coming. Want to go eat with me instead? Roxana's voice came through the phone. He canceled again? What's the excuse this time? Work. She scoffed. Seriously, Selena, why would you go back to him? You got back together and he's still the same. He was the one who dumped you in the first place. Why bother? Why bother? I didn't know either. I chased Luis for 2 years. We dated for 3. He was good-looking, smart, and extremely popular with girls back in college. Out of all his admirers, I was the most persistent one. After we got together, I was always the more enthusiastic one. I asked him out to eat, invited him to hang out, shared my daily life with him. At first, Luis would respond warmly, but over time, he started saying I was too clingy and that we should give each other some space. I reflected on myself and began cutting back on how often I messaged him. That's when I realized, if I didn't reach out first, he would never contact me at all. I started wondering if something was wrong between us. Until one day, after he returned from a business trip, I ran into Luis at a cafe. He was there with a female coworker, chatting and laughing. I knew there was a woman at his company who had feelings for him. I'd once accidentally seen their chat history, mostly casual banter. At first, she was the one sharing things nonstop while Luis barely responded. Later on, Luis started sharing his own daily life too, and their conversations grew longer and longer. We had a huge fight over it. I accused Luis of having no boundaries. He said there was nothing between them, that they were just co-workers. Just co-workers, who went on business trips together for days, without his official girlfriend knowing a thing. That was the first time Luis ever yelled at me. Selena, we're adults. Can you stop being so immature? Does your world revolve around me and nothing else? The exhaustion and disdain in his eyes were impossible to miss. As if he'd finally reached his limit, he rubbed his forehead and said, Selena, let's break up. I'm really tired. In that moment, my world fell silent. All the surrounding noise vanished in an instant, leaving only the look of irritation on Luis's face. I don't remember how I walked out of the cafe. I only remember that it poured rain that day. The air was hot, heavy, and suffocating, enough to make me nauseous. After breaking up with Luis, I spent night after night unable to sleep. Sometimes I woke up from dreams to find my pillow soaked through. I became dazed and hollow, as if my soul had been pulled out of my body. Nothing interested me anymore. In just 3 months, I lost several pounds. Memories of Luis kept resurfacing no matter what I did. I really, truly loved him, so much that I couldn't pull myself out. Even imagining Luis being with that coworker after our breakup made my chest ache. That night, maybe driven by emotion, I called Luis for the first time. It took him a long time to answer, so long that I thought he'd forgotten my number. Luis, let's get back together. Just 1 year. 1 year only. I won't bother you anymore. I thought I needed to detox from this relationship. Slowly, little by little, pull Luis out of my life. He neither refused nor agreed. He only said 5 words. You said that yourself. I don't know what he was thinking, but that's how we got back together. Afterward, he remained distant and indifferent. Yet on my birthday, he still prepared a gift for me. Roxana said Luis already had an entire pond full of fish. He wouldn't mind keeping one more. Chapter 2. The restaurant Luis booked had a great atmosphere, with live music playing softly. Most of the people around us were affectionate couples or married partners. As I ate the salad in front of me, Roxana raised her glass to comfort me. Don't overthink it. If there's no man, at least you still have your girls. Our glasses clinked. I took a sip of red wine and said, it's actually not that bad. I'm not as heartbroken as I was at the beginning. After getting back together with me, Luis never became particularly affectionate. He still didn't reply to my messages, didn't call me, kept going on business trips, and canceled on me again and again. I even started to feel like he was doing it on purpose, as if he wanted to see whether I could really last a full year with him. At first, I still couldn't accept it and kept tormenting myself. Later, I forced myself not to think about it, not to ask questions, and gradually shifted my focus away from Luis. After work, I went out to dinner with colleagues. On holidays, I traveled with Roxana. During work days, I kept myself busy. In my free time, I painted, practiced calligraphy, sculpted clay figures. I tried my best to fill my life. Gradually, I realized that even without Luis, my life was still vibrant. Faced with his indifference, I found that I could easily make peace with myself. I wiped my mouth and said, "At the beginning, we got back together because I couldn't accept the sudden breakup. So I gave myself 1 year, a gradual process, to slowly get used to life without him." Roxana rested her chin on her hand and looked at me. "So how's the detox going? Don't fall back in again." I shook my head. No, this time, when Luis said he couldn't spend our anniversary with me, I thought about it carefully, and it wasn't as painful as I imagined. That was the truth. In the past, I probably would have overthought everything, doubted him, even blamed him for not spending the holiday with me. Now that I thought about it, it really didn't seem like such a big deal. Someone who doesn't value you will always find excuses to abandon you. And after being canceled on so many times, I'd grown a bit numb. Roxana nodded. "I hope you can really succeed in letting go." As she spoke, she pulled out her phone and handed it to me. This was taken by a friend of mine. Isn't it a coincidence? It was a photo. In the photo, a woman was sitting on a bench receiving in-4 drip, while a man beside her worriedly wiped her forehead. It was Luis, and the woman receiving the 4 was his former ambiguous fling, Ruby. Roxana carefully observed my expression. Urgent work. Huh? More like rushing off to keep his lover company. I looked at the phone calmly. No sadness, no anger. It even felt expected. Normal, I said, handing the phone back to Roxana. It's not the first time. There was another time when we'd planned to go to Beihai to see the snow. But he said he couldn't go at the last minute because of a business trip. Later, I found out from his coworker's social media that he'd gone to celebrate Ruby's birthday instead. Seeing that I really wasn't too upset, Roxana finally relaxed. Not long after, my phone screen lit up. It was a message from Luis. "Still have some things to deal with. I won't be coming back tonight." Roxana glanced toward my phone. "What is it? A message from Luis?" "Yeah. What did he say?" "He said he's not coming back tonight." I typed 2 words on my phone. "Okay. Not coming back?" Roxana raised an eyebrow. "What for? Going to spend the night at his lover's place?" I turned off my screen. Whatever. I've been looking for a place to move into lately anyway. Back then, I really couldn't let him go. I loved Luis to the point of obsession. So I moved in with him. Now I was slowly getting turned off by it all. Living together felt uncomfortable in every way, and I wanted to move out as soon as possible. "That's great." Roxana was the first to support me. "My new place is pretty much set up. You can move in with me temporarily." I thought about it. It sounded good. Staying at Roxana's place would mean I wouldn't have to live under the same roof as Luis anymore. Chapter 3. After Luis sent me that message, we never contacted each other again. We didn't even see each other once. I assumed he had been staying at Ruby's place these past few days, taking care of her. That was fine. It gave me the perfect opportunity to move out of Luis's apartment. That weekend, I called a moving crew and packed up some of my belongings in advance. I didn't have much stuff. After running up and down a few times, I was basically done. On my bedside table sat a photo from when we had just started dating, taken during a trip to an old town. Luis had his arm around my shoulder, looking at me with eyes full of smiles. Back then, the tourists taking the photos even joked, "I've taken so many pictures and still haven't gotten a clear shot of your boyfriend's face." Later, Luis hadn't looked at me like that for a long time. A very long time. I stared at the photo for a while, took a deep breath, flipped it face down, and tossed it into the bedside drawer. "Everything's packed," I said to the mover. "Let's go." Chapter 4. About 3 days later, Luis realized I had moved out. At the time, I was in a meeting and didn't answer his call. When I saw the missed call, I opened our chat and sent a question mark. Luis replied almost instantly. Why didn't you answer my call? In a meeting. Luis, you moved out? I replied, yes. Luis, why didn't you tell me first? I said, didn't want to disturb your work. After a while, Luis finally sent another message. Why did you suddenly decide to move out? I answered honestly, even though we said 1 year. It's already been half a year. I think it's about enough. Luis was typing, but no message came through. After a long time, even longer than before. What do you mean? You think it's about enough? I thought about my wording. It means I don't want to trouble you anymore. Just then, a coworker called me into another meeting. I stood up, and another message from Luis came in. I'll be back tonight. Let's talk when I get home. I glanced at my phone, didn't reply, picked up my laptop, and headed to the conference room. After the meeting ended, I forgot about it and forgot to reply to Luis. After staying busy for a while, Luis suddenly called. I hesitated for a moment before answering. When do you get off work? I checked my watch. Recently, I'd taken on a new project. The team was swamped, working like crazy. I was getting off late every day, and there was no fixed time. I asked, what's up? Luis said over the phone, I'll come pick you up after work. I froze for a moment, thinking I must have heard wrong. Pick me up after work? I repeated blankly. I couldn't even remember the last time Luis had come to pick me up. Every day he was either on business trips or stuck in meetings, without even time to reply to my messages. There's no need. I declined gently. It's hard to park in front of our company. I can just take a taxi. Luis seemed not to understand and continued on his own. I'm free today. I'll make up for the anniversary we missed. I'll come get you in a bit. Really? There's no need. I rubbed my forehead. I'm not done with work yet, and I don't know when I'll finish. Don't come. There was a brief silence on the other end. After a long pause, Luis finally spoke. You really don't want to see me that much? There was a hint of probing in his voice. Or are you still angry about what happened before? What happened before? I thought carefully. Was he talking about canceling on me and not spending the anniversary together? But to me, that felt like a long time ago. If he hadn't brought it up, I would have forgotten about it entirely. I'm not angry, I said seriously. I'm really just too busy with work. Luis seemed to be weighing my tone carefully, realizing that I truly had no emotions behind my words. He sounded puzzled instead. Why aren't you angry? I suddenly felt like laughing. What was wrong with him today? Not only did he want to pick me up after work, he even had time to stay on the phone with me this long. Besides, wasn't it a good thing that I wasn't angry? Wasn't this exactly the kind of obedient girlfriend he wanted? I said, because you said before that I always got upset over things like this, and it really annoyed you. You're already stressed enough at work. I don't want to argue with you over these things anymore. As soon as I finished speaking, the other end of the line fell silent. I thought Luis was about to hang up. So I said, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. Before Luis could say anything, I raised my hand and ended the call. Chapter 5. The sky outside darkened as colleagues gradually got off work. I saved the last file, shut down my computer, and walked out of the office. I lowered my head and opened the ride-hailing app. Luis had said he would come pick me up after work, but judging by his past behavior, he would probably cancel again. Just as I was about to tap the button to call a car, someone honked in the distance. I looked up. Luis was getting out of his car. Get in, he said, opening the passenger door and looking at me. I froze where I stood. Luis simply waited there. I let out a breath, put away my phone, and walked toward him. As soon as I sat down in the passenger seat, I felt something pressing against my lower back. I reached back casually and touched a square, hard object. Lipstick? It was clearly not a shade I used. Luis glanced at what was in my hand, quickly snatched it away, and stuffed it into his pocket. The atmosphere inside the car instantly turned awkward. Luis explained. It was probably something a coworker dropped. I didn't ask any more questions, just gave a soft mem. I was too tired. All I wanted was to lean against the window and rest for a while. Seeing that I didn't pursue it, Luis asked instead. That's it? Just an I couldn't be bothered to open my eyes. What else would you like me to say? It's probably rubies. As if he'd suddenly found an opening, Luis began explaining like he used to. She and I are just. I know. I cut him off. Really too annoyed by the noise. Be quiet for a bit. Just drop me off at Roxana's neighborhood. Aren't we supposed to go eat tonight? And are you going to be staying at your friend's place from now on? I'm not hungry, and don't worry about me so much. After saying that, no matter what Luis said next, I didn't open my mouth again. Maybe my attitude irritated him, seeing that I had no intention of engaging. He stopped talking too. Suddenly, the car's Bluetooth rang. I didn't open my eyes, but I heard a sweet, soft voice. Luis, are you free right now? My friends and I went out to eat, but we can't get a car. They've all left and I'm the only one still here. Can you come pick me up? Luis agreed almost immediately. Send me the location. I'll head over right now. Ruby sounded thrilled. Thank you so much. I really wouldn't know what to do otherwise. I'll wait for you. The car suddenly stopped. I opened my eyes. We were parked by the side of the road, still some distance away from Roxana's place. I have something to take care of now, Luis said, his voice carrying a hint of irritation. Since you don't want me worrying about you, I won't. I got out of the car smoothly. Thanks. I closed the door casually. It was easy to get a ride around here, and it was even cheaper than leaving from the office. Seeing how decisively I got out, Luis was probably furious. He rolled down the window and said through clenched teeth, Selena, didn't you say half a year was enough? Fine. I hope you stick to your word and don't trouble me again. With that, he rolled the window back up and sped away. What was that supposed to mean? A breakup? Was I dumped again? Fine. I'll take it as a breakup. I thought it would take me a full year to let go of Luis. Turns out, 6 months was enough. I even finished ahead of schedule. I sent Roxana a message. Hot pot tonight. Chapter 6. So what's the situation between you two now? You broke up? Roxana picked up a slice of fatty beef and dropped it into her bowl. I nodded. Probably. From what he said, it sounds like he wants to break up with me. Roxana rolled her eyes. He's the one cheating and flirting around. And now that you don't like him anymore, he's unhappy? Is something wrong with Luis's brain? She suddenly looked at me seriously. Selena, don't turn back this time. Letting him hurt you again and again, that's exactly what feeds his ego. I smiled. I won't. The first breakup was because I was too deeply in love. I couldn't let him go no matter what. But this time, I honestly don't feel much of anything. It was like a feather brushing past lightly. Not painful. Not itchy. No regret. No sadness. Just turning the page and moving on. During these 6 months, I kept forcing myself to shift my focus, to stop thinking about Luis. Once I started living my own life properly, I realized men were really just that. Luis was just that. Oh right. I might be getting promoted. I suddenly remembered something and opened my email to show Roxana. Didn't I apply for a transfer to headquarters before? I got the email today. Once I finish handing over my work here, I'll be heading over. That's great news. Roxana raised her cola toward me. Promotion, a raise, and staying far away from the sea of romantic suffering. Aren't the good days finally here? You're beautiful and capable. Why tie yourself to one tree like Luis? I was happy. Happier than the night Luis agreed to get back together with me. 1,000 times. 10,000 times happier. Chapter 7. After that, because of the work handover, I became even busier. After our last argument, Luis never sent me another message, and I didn't have time to contact him either. I figured this time, it should really be over. I opened WeChat, looked at Luis's profile picture, and without hesitation deleted and blocked him, his number included. I thought that was the end of it, until one day, while celebrating Roxana's birthday, I ran into Luis at a dinner with colleagues. Luis, you've been coming and going with Ruby every day. You two aren't together now, are you? Ruby's face immediately flushed red. She lowered her head and said, No way. Don't joke around. Luis drank silently by himself, looking like he wasn't in a great mood. The male colleague pressed on. Still saying no? I saw Ruby get out of Luis's car the other day. Another female colleague chimed in. Didn't Luis have a girlfriend? Ruby's smile froze. She instinctively looked at Luis, as if waiting for an answer. Luis didn't say anything. He neither admitted it nor denied it, just kept drinking. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, the male colleague quickly tried to smooth things over. I haven't seen that girl in ages. She used to come to our company all the time to wait for Luis after work. But she stopped showing up. Guess they broke up. Someone immediately followed up. If they broke up, then just get together with Ruby. You're both single. What's the problem? Yeah, you're young. Dating a few times is totally normal. I pretended not to hear and lowered my head to drink some water. I glanced at the time. 10 minutes had passed, and Roxana still hadn't arrived. Selena, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Our boss assigned us work right before getting off. I rushed over as fast as I could. Sorry for making you wait so long. Roxana ran in, panting. The Luis who had been drinking looked up and glanced in my direction. Someone said, "Isn't that the girl who used to wait for Luis downstairs at the company?" Following Luis's gaze, Ruby looked over as well, her eyes filled with surprise. Roxana sat down across from me, blocking the stares coming our way. You could practically smell the gossip in the air. Luis, aren't you going to say hi? Did you two really break up? If you broke up, you broke up. If it didn't work, it didn't work. What's so strange about that? Wasn't she the one who begged to get back together before? Ruby's seemingly casual voice drifted over. Seems like it. She even misunderstood my relationship with Luis back then. But that's on me too. If someone else had gone on that business trip, it might have been better. If she were married, she probably wouldn't overthink things, right? Roxana kept her eyes on the menu, but her voice suddenly rose several octaves. Last time Kevin invited you out alone for dinner, didn't he say some dish was especially good, so unforgettable? She emphasized the words especially very deliberately. I blinked and leaned in. Who's Kevin? Roxana signaled with her eyes and lowered her voice. Who Kevin is doesn't matter. What matters is letting people know you're not stuck on Luis. She cleared her throat and continued. Oh right. Kevin really is something. He even asked me when your birthday is. Said he wants to treat you to dinner next time. If you ask me, you should break up with people who aren't right for you. And cheating men are absolutely a no-go. Kevin's handsome and rich. Are you really not going to consider him? Roxana winked at me. When she mentioned cheating men, all the heads on the other side turned toward Luis and Ruby at once. Ruby's face alternated between red and pale. She lowered her head, bit her lip, and started drinking her beverage. I almost laughed, putting on a serious expression. I said, "You're right. I shouldn't hang myself from one tree. I'll think about it and give Kevin a call when I get home." We held back our laughter, while the meal across from us grew exceptionally silent. Chapter 8. After dinner, Roxana and I prepared to head home. As soon as we stepped out of the restaurant, we saw Luis and his colleagues saying their goodbyes at the entrance. Luis glanced at me, pretended not to recognize me, and turned his head away. Ruby stepped forward and looped her arm through Luis's. Luis, let me take you home later. You seem a bit drunk. Okay. Roxana and I walked past Luis. Suddenly, he called out, Selena. I turned back, puzzled. He had drunk quite a bit that night. His eyes were misty with alcohol, yet the look he gave me was cold and sharp. What is it? I asked. Luis suddenly let out a strange laugh. Who's Kevin? I was momentarily speechless. Beside me, Roxana couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. That laughter seemed to irritate Luis. He suddenly shook off Ruby's hand and strode toward me. At over 6 feet tall, he loomed over me, casting a shadow. So you blocked me, stopped texting me, stopped calling me, because you've got someone new? I jerked my chin toward the people behind him. So it's fine for you to have someone new, but not for me? Why should I keep going back to leftovers? Luis's face darkened instantly. Back then, I had cried and begged to get back together with him, and now I was calling him leftovers. Clearly, Luis couldn't accept this change in me. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Ruby and I aren't what you think. She and I are just ordinary coworkers. I shot back. Kevin and I are the same. I felt like he had drunk too much, so much that he wasn't thinking clearly. I pushed him back slightly, keeping my distance. And we've already broken up. Everything about me has nothing to do with you anymore. Can you stop acting crazy? Luis frowned slightly. You're breaking up with me because of Kevin? I grew irritated. Luis, are you sick? You're the one who brought up breaking up. And now you're turning around and blaming me. Is your brain flooded or filled with shit? For a brief moment, Luis looked blank. When did I ever say we were breaking up? The first time doesn't count. Resigned. I nodded and patiently helped him remember. The time you went to pick up Ruby and left me by the side of the road. You said you hoped I'd keep my word and never trouble you again. The confusion between Luis's brows slowly faded. He seemed to remember. His tone grew hurried, as if he were desperate to explain. Who said that meant breaking up? I was just angry, and I went back to find you. You were already gone. Yes. I was already gone. I suddenly burst out. You chose to leave me behind so many times. I waited for you. Right where you left me, but why did I have to keep waiting? Why me? I didn't know why, but my nose suddenly started to sting. I tried hard to hold it in. I didn't want to cry in front of Luis. Whenever I cried before, Luis always found it annoying. Why did girls always have endless tears? Why cry at the slightest thing? What was there even worth crying over? Men wouldn't feel heartache over it. They'd only find it troublesome. I had to hold it in. Selena, Luis murmured. I let out a breath and forced myself to calm down. If last time you didn't mean breaking up, then this time I do. Luis. Let's break up. Chapter 9. Maybe when he said those harsh words and drove off, he thought I would wait for him like I always had, that I would break down crying on some night, miss him unbearably, and end up calling him Luis. Let's get back together. Just 1 year. 1 year only. I won't bother you anymore. In reality, it didn't even take a year. 6 months was enough. After 6 months, I no longer needed him. Perhaps Luis never expected that I could really stop bothering him. Or perhaps he had realized this problem long ago. He just didn't believe I could actually let him go. Once, he texted me, I have something tonight. Won't be home for dinner. I simply replied, okay. After a long time, he couldn't help but ask, aren't you going to ask what it is? I said, because you said before that you hated me asking too many questions. So I try not to do things you hate. Another time, we went out to eat together. Neither of us spoke. We quietly ate the food in our bowls. Luis casually asked me, anything interesting happened lately? You can tell me about it. I said, not really. Every day is about the same. In the past, I would share everything with him. Interesting things I encountered, desserts I tried, cute little cats I saw. But most of my messages sank without a trace. Even when he replied, it was usually something like, don't you have anything better to do every day? Don't tell me this boring stuff. I don't want to hear it. So after we got back together, I never talked to him about those trivial topics again, because he didn't want to hear them. People are strange sometimes. When I became obedient and stopped bothering him, he started asking questions instead. When I finally became what he wanted, he didn't like it anymore. I summed it up in 2 words. Pathetic. Chapter 10. Luis was exactly that kind of pathetic person. After I proposed the breakup, and 3 months passed with absolutely no sign of reconciliation, Luis showed up at my door. Roxana blocked him at the entrance, refusing to let him in no matter what. Luis, I already told you Selena isn't here. If you keep this up, I'm calling the police. Luis stood at the door, unwilling to leave. I saw her come upstairs. You followed her? Are you out of your mind? Are you a stalker? Luis didn't even blink. I'm her boyfriend. It's normal for a boyfriend to care about his girlfriend. Man, did you eat poisonous mushrooms or something? You two already broke up. Luis replied confidently. I didn't agree to it. I heard everything clearly from inside the room. Roxana had told me she would handle it and that I should focus on my work. I didn't think she could. If this went on, it might even disturb the neighbors. I opened the door and walked out. Roxana was desperately trying to push him away. When he saw me, Luis's eyes lit up. Selena! I sighed. Roxana, Go inside. I'll talk to him. Roxana hesitated, glanced at me, and said as she retreated toward the room. Then keep your head clear. I smiled. I am very clear-headed. Let's go to the cafe downstairs. I changed my shoes and casually closed the door behind me. Don't come here again, Luis said from behind me. But you don't answer my calls, and you don't reply to my messages. There weren't many people in the cafe. Luis and I sat facing each other. Luis ordered a coffee but didn't drink it. He studied me repeatedly and said, "You seem to have changed a lot. Have I?" I took a sip of coffee. It was bitter, with a faint astringency. Luis smiled slightly. "You used to tell me everything, even when we fought. You were always the one who came to me first." I found that interesting. The old Luis was used to me chasing after him, used to me lowering my head. Now that I'd let go, he was the one who couldn't. I said, "I can't just stay where I am and never move forward," spending every day wondering whether this man loved me, whether he was flirting with other women. Was that even a life? Luis seemed not to understand what I meant and continued on his own. "I've already made things clear with Ruby. There won't be any more contact. You can move back whenever you want. I'll slowly become the version you used to like, as long as you don't break up." I looked at him, amused. "Luis, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I don't care at all what's going on between you and Ruby anymore, because I truly don't like you at all. Whatever you do has nothing to do with me. I won't move back, and this time, I won't turn back either." After saying that, I stood up, ready to leave. Luis suddenly grabbed my hand. "Why? Weren't we fine before? Why is it that now I've turned back? You're the one giving up? Why should I catch you just because you decided to turn back?" I yanked my hand free. "I waited for you before. You were the one who gave up first." Luis stood there, stunned. "Luis, you don't actually like me. You're just used to having me revolve around you." The cafe door suddenly swung open, the wind chime clanging loudly. Ruby stormed toward me, bag in hand, brimming with hostility. Before I could react, a sharp pain exploded across my face. My head snapped to the side as I stared at Ruby in shock. She pointed at me and screamed, "You bitch! Why do you keep clinging to Luis? He stopped loving you a long time ago. Is it really that interesting to keep pestering him? When you called him asking to get back together, he was in my bed. Do you know why he agreed? Because you were too hard to shake off. He wanted you to give up completely." Oh, now it made sense. No wonder Luis took so long to answer that call. He was busy. And that time on your anniversary, I was sick and he stayed with me. No, actually, there were several times he ditched you for me. Ruby gritted her teeth as she spoke, yet a smug expression crept onto her face, as if she were waiting for my heartbreak in rage. I raised an eyebrow. "So he slept with you and still hasn't given you any status? How's that any different from being a fling?" Ruby's face flushed red, then pale. She grabbed her bag and tried to hit me again. Luis stopped her, shouting, "Ruby, stop it! Didn't I make myself clear? Don't look for me anymore." She stared at him in disbelief, eyes reddening. "You really don't want me anymore? I waited for you for so long. You say you don't want me and that's it?" The scene suddenly reminded me of 6 months ago. Luis had just returned from a business trip, also in a cafe, when he raised his voice and broke up with me. My face felt swollen, my head ached from the noise. Luis hurriedly explained, "Selena, I didn't know she would come. Does your face hurt?" I looked at the hatred in Ruby's eyes. "Luis, step aside." I raised my hand and slapped Ruby hard across the face. "It doesn't hurt anymore." I shook my hand and walked out of the cafe on my own. The sky outside had darkened. It looked like rain was coming. Luis rushed after me and grabbed my hand. "There really was a reason I got back together with you back then. But that's all in the past now. Can you wait for me to sort everything out and explain properly? I won't ditch you again. I won't ignore your feelings anymore. Please don't leave, okay?" The clouds grew heavier. I needed to go quickly. Once it rained, it would be harder to leave. I pulled my hand free. "Luis, there is no after for us. If you keep bothering me, I won't mind making things very ugly." Before the rain fell, I walked away without looking back. Chapter 11. After being transferred to headquarters, I moved out of Roxana's place and rented an apartment near the company. During that time, Roxana told me that Luis had gone to her place several times looking for me. At first, he didn't believe that I had really moved out. After lurking around for a few days without seeing any sign of me, he finally accepted it. Luis also called me a few times, nothing more than regretful, desperate attempts to win me back. I found him annoying and simply changed my phone number. On my birthday, Roxana came to celebrate with me. She told me that because of something I had said that day, Ruby had started demanding a proper status from Luis. Luis was sick of her beyond endurance. In a fit of anger, Ruby exposed their affair, blowing it wide open. The whole company ended up knowing, even upper management. In the end, both of them were fired. I treated it as gossip for amusement and didn't ask about what happened afterward. Right now, all I want is to focus on my career and live my own life well.